Hello and welcome everyone to the 2022 Society for Science at User Research Facilities annual meeting, a 3-day event with sessions covering a range of topics of interest to the user facility network. I'm Dan Powers, the Executive Director, and I'll be moderating and participating throughout the next 3 days, interacting with the speakers and helping to field your questions if you have them while we are hearing from our different presenters. Right now, to kick things off, let me hand over the meeting to our board chair, Lily Troia. Lily, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Really excited to be here. We are so glad to have you today and the rest of the week for the annual meeting of the Society for Science at User Research Facilities. I took over as chair of the board just in October, and I'll tell you a little bit more about myself in a bit. But I wanted to begin by acknowledging that I'm joining you today from unceded and colonized land of the Peoria and Ho-Chunk Indigenous peoples, also known as Chicago, Illinois. First, thanks to our phenomenal executive director, Dan Powers, and the planning committee for the work leading up to this free and virtual event, overcoming website crashes, waiting for some final confirmation on a roster of top experts and knowledge leaders in our broad, diverse, and overlapping research community. I am so certain you'll find the program over the next few days that offers diverse and compelling agendas. The growth that SSURF has fostered in large part due to Dan's unflappable persistence, thought, and hard work are incredibly impressive. We are lucky to have him. And of course, welcome to all of you joining us today and in the future. We are so lucky to have you here, especially our members who support this organization with all the resources, ideas, and our much needed support to our global research community. To users and other stakeholders joining us today, a warm thanks to you for contributing your energy and thoughts to this dynamic community and conversation. Without you, especially researchers who dedicate your life to new discoveries that advance science and also shape the future we all contemplate every day, I'd imagine. We are beyond lucky to have a diverse board of directors, including representatives from many facilities, the NSF, partner nonprofits like ORCID, who are leading critical changes in how we can better organize research activity with minimal burden to researchers, facility and other stakeholder administrators, folks from industry, and more. We're excited to welcome 2 new board members who we announced in our recent newsletter, and I'll let you refer back to that just for sake of time, but we're very excited to have them join. And so just turning a little bit, so you know, who am I, you might ask, and why am I chair of the board of directors? When SSURF began to grow several years ago and expand our board, I was encouraged to apply by the great folks at PNNL, as many of you know, Pacific Northwest National Lab, where I'd been presenting on research metrics and other information about increasing visibility of research impact. The roster of new leaders were committed to mission and expansion of this vital organization. So I was contacted by our former board member, Jody Muckelbauer, who many of you know, longtime SSURF board member, incredibly committed to our organization and dedicated longtime treasurer who helped lead this organization expand, and even long before we had a staff member like Dan to assist with administrative efforts. But you might note, I'm not a chemist or a physicist or a facility administrator. I was invited to join the board mainly many years ago to bring a unique and adjacent perspective to the researcher and user community. I was a social science researcher at one time, but I am a research services expert with a background in digital solutions, multi-level research enterprise development, metrics and copyright, research impact, open access, and funder and industry engagement. As a scholarly communication librarian associated with digital media outreach, I've connected research organizations in the US and across the world with actionable, sustainable tools and processes focused on innovation, translational impact, and cross-organizational collaboration. And of course, this is my bio from the website, which you can read. My consultative support to key leadership and stakeholders across our sector, I think, really helps strategize around technology and data that are focused on aligning with mission, actionable use, increased efficiency, and decision-making. I've worked with several leading research digital technology companies, was at the Virginia Institute of Marine Science Lab at the College of William & Mary, and previously at Harvard's Office of Scholarly Communication, where I worked actively in understanding shifts in the research community and climate. I also, as an extensive partner in development with global funders, university, policy organizations, national labs, publishers, and more. But so as we ramp up and continue to provide more support and services and dedication to this community, I want to kind of revisit and stay close to our mission and vision, which we as a board have been working on very avidly to streamline and align with the needs of our user community. First, we really desire for SSURF to be the hub for thought leadership to inform and empower over 1 million scientists every year that leverage our user research facilities. This is really resulting in astounding discoveries that advance the progress of all humanity, the planet, the universe, and everything in between. And our vision is that our member facilities are globally renowned, of course, as the most specialized, brilliant network of fundamental scientific research laboratories. And we want to raise that visibility, and we want to help you really meet the needs that are most pressing at your organizations. And our mission is to provide consolidated voice and resources for those engaged in supporting and, of course, supporting the American user facilities. And our two primary realms of action are supporting professional communities and research networks over sharing best practices, facilitating professional development, webinars, newsletters, social media, and this annual meeting. So many credit to Dan and the communications committee that has been expanding and really focused as well with our other groups like government affairs to meet a lot of these needs. And of course, promoting awareness about the benefits and significance of user facilities via statements, presentations, conference participations, site visits, and of course, work on the Hill. The way that we want to do this is through a series of actions and activities that you'll see outlined a bit later and really start to understand. And you may have already noticed as you've seen more and more announcements of webinars and activities that we're sponsoring. But we do SSURF-sponsored user facilities for elected officials and legislative staff, and we'll be ramping that up this year. Coordinate and sponsor facility staff and user visits to congressional offices, as mentioned before, issue engagement coordination between facility management and sponsoring agencies. We make statements in support to elected officials on matters of important user facilities, and we moderate community discussions for this community with the annual meeting, other opportunities to connect and talk and discuss, training opportunities, sharing job postings, and our newsletter, what really highlights member facility special events and scientific discoveries. And my goal as chair of the board is really to get to know you a lot better. I would love to hear from you. I hope to visit some of you who work at facilities and other places and really understand fully what all the most pressing needs are. Interestingly, when we conducted a recent survey, nearly 50 recipients, thank you so much, prioritize your goals as such. Interestingly, 65% said they really appreciate us organizing a quarterly user facility leadership gathering, virtual or otherwise. And this is something that we're going to look at, although we've expanded the webinar aspect, but to really maybe bring in people from user facilities to communicate more and share ideas. The webinar panels to convene thought leaders was also over 50%, creating reports on user facility recent discoveries and successes. This is something we need help from you. And of course, we want to welcome new members to the SSURF Volunteer Committee. And so just to plug on that final point, we would love to involve more of you in the community, in our organization. That is your organization. So please, if you would like to join any of our volunteer committees, bring your voice to SSURF at the SSURF community table, please, and join us. The ask in terms of commitment is very respectful. And depending on your availability, you could help with the annual meeting, government affairs, expanding communication, or member and volunteer work as well. Tons of opportunities to please work with us. So please contact us and we will send another official call for volunteers in the newsletter following this meeting. Now, before I introduce our amazing first guest speaker, I want to share a few final thoughts about the challenges our academic and corporate NGO and funder partners are finding most pressing and difficult to tackle, since these are directly our partners as well in the user community, research facility user community. These are talks that I know overlap with our community when I've spoken with you and before, and way back at our last in-person annual meeting several years ago. Compliance. This is a huge thing that lots of people are bringing to me, especially from other organizations that tangentially connect to our community. I've heard more and more as more and more guidance comes out of the White House statements, the recent OTSP memos. We are hearing university leaders share stress around understanding and actually how to source the data and information for new compliance and reporting requirements. This affects our users here and abroad if they're funded by certain agencies that are required to report on those areas, our facility staff, our enterprise partners, and of course the issues around the globe and beyond we are trying to tackle. And while perhaps not the most pressing issue on our plates at the moment for you, with new plans to require federal funded research and associated data with certain exceptions to be published in open access forums by the end of 2025, provides an incredible opportunity for us to further share and accelerate the advancement of science by breaking down barriers to global access. But it also puts additional restraints and pressures on our community. Here, I'll give a little plug for librarians and organizations like ORCID. They are often leading experts in this realm who can potentially be here to support these efforts. And finally, while many more issues are facing our community, there is a persistent and ever crucial need to increase researcher, and research facility visibility as we move more and more towards research with broader social impact goals that address and find ever-solving solutions to our ever-solving global challenges. I'd encourage you all to reach out to me, Dan, and anyone else at SSURF. Again, if you have specific ideas you'd like to discuss. Our goal is to foster an open and collaborative community aimed at maximizing our research discovery and impact potential.